In this next set of materials, we'll be exploring the history of human population growth. Right now, the world's population stands at about 7.3 billion people. Human beings as we know them today, the modern Homo sapiens, have been around for about 200,000 years. Functioning socially as we think of modern humans for about 50 to 70,000 years. For virtually all of that time, all but the last few hundred years, the population grew very, very slowly. This is a graph of human population over time. I like this graph because it really shows how much time had to pass before we see any appreciable increase in population. This particular graph is somewhat interactive, allowing me to click on it here, change the y-axis to spread out the time a little, allowing you to see both the super compressed version, in which we see from roughly 5000 BC through 1000 AD, very little population growth. It's expanded a little bit down here so you can see a little more. It's not just a straight line. And then a sudden and very marked increase in population after that. Now, if I spread out that time span just a little bit here we go, so that you can get a better sense of the shape of the curve as population did start to increase here. And then we'll whip all the way back over here to 5000 BC. Time passing, time passing, time passing, flat, 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 flat. Not starting to noticeably increase at all until really between 2000 and 1000 BC. By 1000 AD, we're looking at a world population of roughly 200 million, 180 million, something like that. Still very slow compared, very small compared to today's modern 7 billion plus population. All right, scooting along, starting to come up. We're at about 500 million, half a billion by 1500. And fairly stable then over the next century and increasing then. It's not until roughly 1800 that we hit our first billion worldwide. And you can see some pretty noticeable increase over those 200 years from roughly 500 million to a billion. But we see marked increase after that point. And around 1800, early industrial revolution, around a billion. We hit our second billion in 1927 and our third billion by mid-1960s or so. So as you can see, continued population growth. This is a projection into the future, roughly 2100 right here. So eventually our population should level out at some point or another, according to most common projections. Our growth rate, that is the amount of change each year, in this case it's always positive, but if we look at 1950, during that intense period of growth that you see right here, in the actual numbers of population, our growth rate has been declining. In fact, it peaked in 1963 at 2.19%, so the population increasing each year by roughly 2.2%. To today, running more like 1.1, somewhere right in there. So when we hit 7 billion, we were already at half the growth rate than we were 50 years prior to that. We expect the growth rate to continue to decline well into the future, with our population leveling off at about 10 billion people in the 2060 to 2075 point. Population has not grown evenly around the world. The vast majority of population growth occurs in the middle 50% of the Earth. That is, populations don't grow very quickly in the far northern reaches and far southern reaches of the world. This makes logical sense. Our ability to grow things in those types of areas, our ability to build cities, anything like that, it's a pretty modern phenomena. So throughout most of human history, population growth occurred in the much more temperate regions closer to the equator and slowly moving north as time passed. In the next bit of information that you'll get as part of this unit, you'll get a better sense of how many people have ever lived on Earth, not just what this historical trend of population growth has been. So pay attention to the next video.